It was 12:23 p.m. and George perched on the edge of his favorite recliner. It didn't match any of the other furniture in his living room and was well worn to match the contours of his body after years of usage. Today he sat on the edge of the seat, taking in the latest news stories from the television. He muttered, incoherent to anyone other than himself, obvious a verbal continuation of his own inner monologue as he continues to flip channels on the television from station to station, desperate to find a news report which failed to manifest. He rose from his chair, switching off the TV and tossing the remote onto the coffee table where it came to a rest just within arm's reach of the recliner. As he made his way to the kitchen, the doorbell rang, snapping him into action. He made a beeline from the edge of his living room to the front door. "It's about time you showed. I was getting really worried," he announced in a voice loud enough to be heard through the aging walls of his home. He swung open the door, allowing a stream of light to flood the previously dimly lit room, revealing hundreds of tiny motes of dust dancing playfully along the currents of air produced by the door's opening. A dark-skinned man holding a box stood on the other side of the door, wearing a mask of confusion from George's previous words. George looked at the man for the briefest of seconds before his heart began to race, the blood rushed from his face, and his breathing became shallow. George slammed the door, bracing it with his back, determined to keep the outside world at bay. "Just leave it on the step, thank you," he screamed, praying the man would drop the package off and leave him alone. "Sorry about the door thing," he shouted as an afterthought. Several minutes passed, his breathing and heart rate returned to normal, only to have the doorbell call out again. George thought back to when all this started, the dread that built up inside him when forced to confront the world outside his own home. He ran his fingers along the memories written in scar tissue along his chest and stomach. The doorbell screeched out to him again, taunting him with the unspeakable horrors which reside just beyond that door. He tried blocking it all away like he practiced with Amita, but she was running late, and he was certain that this was contributing to his current dilemma. "George?" he heard a familiar voice call out. "George, it's Amita. You have a delivery." The voice called again, followed by a knock. George took a deep breath in an effort to compose himself. He opened the door to see her standing there in her signature green coat and white skirt that she wore every time she came to visit him on Thursdays. "Go ahead and open the door, George. I'll bring in your package," she said with a practiced, calming tone. George opened the door and reached for the box himself. "I got it. No need to bother yourself with it." "Thank you, George. You doing okay today?" she asked, noting his disheveled look and general complexion. "Oh, just fine. Had a bit of a scare earlier, I suppose," he replied, setting his delivery upon the coffee table. "Okay, we can talk about that if you want, but I need to finish running some errands. You want to come with me and talk about it?" She motioned to the door. George looked down to his shoes, then to Amita. "I guess so." Amita took his hand in hers and guided him to the door. "It's okay, George. I'm right here with you." He took a step outside, and the dread came washing over him, forcing him to close his eyes for a moment. He took a deep breath, focusing on his breathing and the feeling of her hand in his. He opened his eyes, gathered his resolve, and they began to walk.